MD Prepper here, covering the topic $1,000 to get into prepping. I did this video a little over a year ago as a video response to somebody's contest and just never got around to making it a standard video. But I put a lot of thought into this, thought it was a great question, and finally got around to it. If you're new to prepping, or you have a friend or a neighbor or somebody like that who wants to get into prepping and being ready for disasters and problems out there in the real world, and they only had a limited amount of cash, they've got $1,000. That may sound like a lot. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but that's the price point we're going to start at. If you got $1,000, what would you recommend that they buy with that? Now, let me go ahead and give you the basic philosophy for this. I'm assuming that you're your kind of average Joe American living in suburbia. You've got a house, maybe you're renting it, maybe you could be an apartment, but generally suburban living. You've got standard things. You've got a car or a truck, whatever. You've got hammers and screwdrivers and all the basic stuff in life. You've got a refrigerator and freezer and whatnot. This is extra things to get you into prepping. I will not cover every single need you're going to have in the long term. This is not going to get you ready for 6 months out in the wild or something like that, 6 months without power. This is to get you into things, get you a good spread of gear and equipment, and let you practice and learn what you need to learn and see the shortages in your kit. Everybody's got shortages in their gear and their philosophy. I think this setup is going to let you at least experiment with things and feel things out fairly well. And again, for $1,000. Let's start off. Top category, in my opinion, is defense. Okay, doesn't matter how much gear you've got if you can't defend it. I would recommend a firearm. It may not be the very top thing on your list. For me, I think it would be, because if I can't protect my year's worth of rice and beans, who cares? I need personal defense. You know, I could be prepared with all the firewood in the world. Somebody knocks on my door and shoots me in the face. Well, fat lot of good that did me. So, I would first recommend, if you're a new shooter, you know, got a family that's not into shooting or has no shooting skills, I would start with a .22 rifle. .22 long rifle, semi-auto, bolt action if you want to, but I'd go for something like this. This is a Mossberg Plinkster rifle, .22 long rifle, runs $100 to about $125 or so. I've had no problems out of it, ultra reliable, quite accurate, doesn't have all the accessories and bling of something like a 10-22. This is going to get the job done. A lot of people say, well, 22 is not the best for defense. Shotgun is. Not necessarily. If nobody in your family but you can use it and you're not home, that shotgun's worthless if they can't get on target and are scared to use the thing. A .22 rifle, anybody can use. Anybody in your family can learn to use this thing. Ammo is reasonably cheap if you can find it. A little shortage these days, but generally you could, back in the day, get 500 rounds or so for $25, and I think that's coming back. So, .22 long rifle. People say it's not the best for self-defense. Well, actually, it may be. I can get 10 rounds in the center of your mass very fast. People talk about one-shot stops for rounds. I'm not going to shoot you once with the .22. I'm going to shoot you with a full magazine. I can hit varmints. I can plank and target practice with this thing. I can shoot something from long range. Nobody's going to say, hey, wait, I'm getting shot at with a .22. That's not a big deal. I can just get shot at. No, doesn't matter what you're getting shot at. Would I prefer to have an AR-15? Sure, probably, but don't waste your $1,000 on an $800 rifle. Just not worth it to start with. Buy something like this that's decent and reliable. It's not pretty, but it does work. Now, in addition to this, I'd get a couple extra magazines just to have those around for quick reloads. Those run you $15 or so say $30. I'd go ahead and get a cleaning kit and some cleaning oil and lubricant, etc. like that. Hobbies number 9, whatever you like. That's going to run you $10-15 or so. So overall, for your self-defense as far as firearms, it's going to run you $180-200. You could get a shotgun. That's fine. I just think you can carry more rounds around and do more overall with .22, especially in a suburban environment, than you can a shotgun. I can shoot a squirrel quietly, reasonably well, without peripheral extra damage. So I don't blow up my neighbor's fence or anything if I'm popping off a squirrel in the backyard for dinner. People may wonder where the shot came from, but oh well. So that's that. Next, category 2 is tool basics. Now, I'm not talking hammers and screwdrivers. I assume you've already got that. I'm talking prepping basics. What I would recommend is a larger blade, something like a Cold Steel Bushman. Going to run you about $25, something like that. Not the fanciest blade in the world, but it's going to get you used to using a larger size blade. But whether it's processing wood, making feather sticks, just any number of things, this gets you started, okay? It's cheap, but it works. It works well. Bushman's a good place to start. I'd get a small to medium-sized knife, something like a Mora style blade. I don't remember which version this is, just one I happen to grab, but any style that you like that fits your hands is going to do fine. Probably go stainless steel to start with if you don't know what you're doing to maintain the blade. But again, scaling and skinning a fish, basic bushcraft things, just general use of a fixed blade knife, that's going to run you $15 or so, maybe 20 on the higher end. The Mora is an excellent blade. There's other options out there, but if you're going to start cheap, this is definitely the way to go. So get that. Now, something I don't have here on the table, I would suggest a multi-tool. If you do not have a multi-tool, you need one. Now, I'm not saying spend $100 on a Leatherman. Spend maybe $30 on a Gerber suspension. That's going to get you used to using one. I carry a multi-tool all the time. Love it. I just don't have it on the table here. Spend $30, something like that. Now, in addition, I would go ahead and get a folding saw. I wouldn't get a hatchet to start with. I'd go ahead and probably spend the extra money on a Bahco Laplander. It's going to run you about $30. You can get it for maybe half that price for cheaper versions, like a Coleman or something like that at Walmart. I'd go ahead and get the Laplander. That's excellent. $30 for basic wood processing. That's going to do what most people need unless you're some heavy-duty backpacker camper. So I'd get that for an extra 30 bucks. Buy whatever extra tools you need that you don't have that are useful in your area. So I'd say maybe $100 overall for basic survival prepping tools. So buy what you'd like. Now, Category 3. I'd say Category 3 is where I go a little bit overboard. Category 3 is water and water purification, etc. You need water. You need water more than anything else. It doesn't matter how much wood I've got if I can't stay hydrated. It doesn't matter how much food I've got, etc. It doesn't matter how much ammo I've got if I'm out of water. So what I would recommend, and this is a little pricey, but the average person in suburbia, again, if you're in a home, something like that, is a rain barrel. I would say go with a rain barrel as my first option for water. 55 gallons or so. Rain barrel will run you about $100, sometimes less, depends on where you're at. They get you started. Okay, cost savings for watering your garden. If the power's ever out, you can flush your toilets. My water was out back in the summer, and I didn't have to worry about it. I had 2 rain barrels out back. I could flush my toilets and go right on, shower out of that, and bathe. Life was good. Didn't have to worry about it. Get you in the habit. Okay, one good rain will fill up your rain barrel generally. Now, this might not be the best suggestion if you live in Arizona, but hey, maybe it is. I'd go for the rain barrel unless you can't have one. Just a good idea. It's going to serve you in the very, very long term, and what costs you save for other options, you're good to go. You can purify that water, etc. If you live in suburbia, you don't have a river or lake or stream around. If the taps aren't producing water, you're toast. You're stuck to whatever's in your refrigerator or whatever you got in the back of your toilet tank. Not my idea of fun. So that's $100 there. The next big purchase, and this is definitely the biggest item, single item I guess, on the menu, other than maybe the firearm, you need some way to easily and passively make drinkable water. I would spend $150 or more on a Berkey. This is the Go Berkey kit. This is the lowest price one. It's about 150 bucks. It's only got one filter in it. But this will filter thousands of gallons of water passively. You don't have to waste burning wood or what limited wood you've got. I live out in the woods, heavily wooded area. Wood's not a problem, not at a shortage. But if I'm in suburbia, I probably don't have that much burnable wood laying around just waiting for me. Why would I waste water, or waste fuel rather, in the middle of the summer in the south boiling my water when I could just purify it and pour it in here just as easily, just to filter through? So $150, you can use this for camping, you can travel with this, you could put it in your car. This is fairly easy to carry around. It's not as useful in the short term as say a Life Straw or something, but if I've got time and I'm sitting around passively, I can use this thing. I can purify all that water in that rain barrel, run it through there, make it drinkable. That's worth it for $150. You also get this bottle, filtration bottle, which would be good for if you're on the hike, if you're on the move, you need something quick and don't need to wait for the gravity filter on the standard Berkey setup. So this comes with that kit, so this is an excellent addition. Of course, you'd want some powdered bleach or some liquid bleach, but I'm going to assume you've probably got that stuff around at home. Most of us do have at least a bottle or half a bottle of bleach around to purify water. So, now, that's all I'm going to say about water. That's definitely our biggest price point. You may differ on that. You may just want some water purification tablets, those types of things, iodine. I'd go for the good stuff. I'd go for the Berkey. I've had one, the bigger ones, a Royal, for years. Love it. So, moving along. Heat. Fire, cooking, those types of options, heat sources. This kind of depends on where you're at and what your options are. If I lived in an apartment, you're probably going to need to go for something like a sterno, because burning wood and other open flames inside the house in the apartment is probably not a good idea. So sternos are an option. I like those little folding stoves they've got out there. Those things are great. You can put anything in the world in them. You can use your sterno, you can use charcoal, you can use twigs, leaves, anything to boil water and cook your food on. You may also want to consider one of the volcano stoves. Also very useful, primarily for boiling water, but again, you can use that boiling water to prepare your food as well. those options, I'd spend $15 to $20 on it, something like that. More if you need it, depends on where you're at. If I was in the frozen north somewhere of Alaska, yeah, I'd probably put more into heat sources. But that'd be my first line for food prep and water purification, etc. I'd get some lighters. Buy a pack of cheap lighters. You know, don't just buy one good one, have several laying around to use. You don't want that one good one you use all the time to run out. Maybe $5 there. I would go ahead and get a fire steel. Go ahead and get a ferrocerium rod, maybe $10, something like that, magnesium striker, etc. I might spend the extra money on a little Esbit stove, those little pocket folder stoves, just for an extreme emergency. Overall, for heat and cooking, I'd say $40 to $50 should get you in a very good spot overall. Maybe less, depends on where you're at. Fifth option, fifth topic, would be medical and hygiene. Okay, these are just the basics. This isn't going to cover everything. I would recommend a first aid kit. Buy that Be Smart Get Prepared kit that I reviewed earlier, $15 to $20 at Walmart. One of the best kits out there I've seen for the money, hands down. Most of first aid kits are garbage. This does cover some ground. Basic medications, whatever you need. Is it Tylenol? Is it Benadryl? Go to Walmart, spend $5 on a bottle of each of whatever you need. Buy 5 or 6 items that you need for $4 a piece. Keep those in reserve. Once you've busted into one, you've broken into another bottle of Benadryl, replace it with another one. Have one in backup. Gets you in the right philosophy. So that'll run you maybe $16, $20, depends on how much you need to put into that. One thing I would definitely recommend everybody keeps is Benadryl. Definitely keep Benadryl around. The tablets, not the capsules. Capsules melt if they get too hot. They become a mess, hard to dose. The tablets may melt a little bit on the outside, but they're still easy to dose. You say, well, I'm not allergic to anything. You don't know that. You get stung by a bee, you could have an anaphylactic reaction. I would recommend having Benadryl, but all other meds, definitely have a bottle or two of that around. Obviously, prescription medications, if you're on any prescription meds, obviously have an extra month supply or more around. Hopefully everything you've got is available on the $4 list at Walmart. If it's not, talk to your doctor. Maybe he'll be willing to give you an extra prescription for a blood pressure med as a backup, you know, lisinopril or something that you're not on just in case. I've had patients ask me for that. What if, you know, things go out, I can't afford to have an extra stash of this $300 medication. Can you give me a prescription for a $4 med as backup? Sure, I had no problem with that. I've done that many times. Makes good sense. I'd add some extra toilet paper. Some paper towels, always a good idea to have around. One thing I'd also add is a bottle of multivitamins. They're not absolutely essential, but if you're short on food and nutrients, it's a good addition. If they're going to sit on the shelf for a long time, that's fine. If you take one anyway, just keep an extra bottle in reserve. I hate to get scurvy in a major power outage here in the United States. That would just suck. So, keep your multivitamins around. Just a decent, reasonably cheap idea. So for medical hygiene, I'd say roughly $50. Something like that. Depends on yourself. Now, Category 6 is others. We've covered all the basics of prepping and all the standard things that people talk about. Other accessories, I'm going to say about $100 or so in that category. This is for things you're lacking. This is regional. If you live in Maine or Alaska, I expect you already have heavy winter coats and long johns and those sorts of things. If I'm here in the South, probably don't need those things necessarily. I might need a wool blanket. A wool blanket might be a good idea in the winter if the power goes out in an ice storm here in the South. If I live in southern Alabama or Mississippi, I may need extra bug spray or mosquito net. Just kind of depends on where you're at, what you need. Boots, shoes, socks, just anything. An extra $100 to flush out your kit for wherever you're at and whatever your needs may be. Now, let me go ahead and get this gear out of the way for our final section. And the final section should be fairly obvious of what we're going to cover. We're going to cover food, nutrition, etc. A lot of people say, buy rice and beans. Buy lots and lots of rice and beans, stack it to the ceiling, it's cheap, it'll last you forever if stored right. No, absolutely not. Terrible idea. What if you don't like rice? What if you don't like beans? You know, what if you don't have a way to cook it when you need, you know, don't have the water? I live in Arizona or something. Not a good idea. Start off saving up and storing what you eat. Whatever that happens to be, whatever you like, whatever you eat regularly, that's what you need to buy. Okay, if you like peanut butter, and I do, keep a few extra jar or two of peanut butter. Canned chicken, canned tuna, good old Spam and Treat, those sorts of things. Baked beans. They're not as cheap as a 50-pound bag of beans, but these are ready to go. I can eat them right out of the can. Instant mashed potatoes, if that's what you like. Well, you've already got your water boiling, just add that to it and you're good to go. Here in the South, you got to have some extra grits laying around. You wouldn't be a Southerner if you didn't. It's just whatever you eat. It does not matter. Just have extra in rotation. Just get used to having it around, used to playing around with it. there's about roughly $250 left over in the food category, which is more than a gracious plenty, I think. I would go ahead and buy some plastic utensils, paper plates and bowls, maybe some extra cooking oil, whatever you need for your area. I wouldn't spend all of it on just food. I'd buy some extra accessories like the paper plates and utensils. At roughly the $260 mark, that's roughly at $4 a day. And yes, you can eat on $4 a day. I've done it for years as a college student and a medical student. Eat for a heck of a lot less. That's 65 days of extra food for one person. So that's a lot of money if you spend it right and stretch it out. Now, there's a few other options that I would talk about in the sort of food category that are a little bit of a splurge but might be worth it. A rice cooker. A rice cooker is going to run you $10 to $20 at Walmart. You say, well, if the power goes out, that's useless. I agree. It is. But at least it gets you in the habit of eating the rice. It gets you used to cooking it different ways and seasoning it different ways. If it doesn't work out and I don't like my rice, it didn't cost me anything, hardly. It's rice. And I can feed it to my dogs, something like that. Throw it out for the birds or the squirrels or something. Rice is a good thing to get into. A rice cooker is a good way to start that because you're not going to screw up cooking it every time. Yes, you do need to move on to learning how to do that on your own, but a rice cooker is a good place to start, I think. A little overkill. Other thing you may want to add in there is packs of seeds. Buy some seeds. Doesn't matter where you live. Can you grow some tomatoes? Can you grow some cucumbers, some zucchini, some squash? They cost pennies to grow from a pack during the summer. You can have all the zucchini, squash you want, tomatoes, etc. And all that money you save from not buying in the store, you can buy more prepping gear with. So use that savings, roll it over. Water those things from your rain barrel, etc., etc. Just feeds forward. If you live in an apartment and you have a small balcony, grow an herb garden. The herbs and spices you put in your food are darn expensive if you cook. Dehydrate those bad boys at the end of the season and put them in the jars yourself for whatever leftover you've got. Grow your own mint. Grow your own basil, oregano. Tastes a heck of a lot better than the stuff that you buy at the store in a jar or a can. So, the seeds, optional, but a good idea. A lot of people don't have cooking, not cooking, but growing skills, gardening skills, etc. Agricultural skills. It's a place to start, okay? Just because you can grow basil doesn't mean you can grow corn, but any port in a storm, any place to start you off. Seeds are cheap. That's a good place to start. You know, grow whatever you can. If you've got a window box, you can do something in that. I've grown cayenne peppers in a window box. I've grown all sorts of interesting things. Probably shouldn't have where I was living, but I did, and nobody complained. So there it is, guys. That's $1,000 to spread out across prepping. Hope you found this useful. Again, you can go check my old VR responses, basically the same video. Hope you found this useful. If you have anything extra to add, other comments, I'd love to hear them. MD Prepper out.